Well, thank you all, and I'm excited to be here. I'm so excited to be here with you, but I feel humbled by the fact that I'm fourth in line of fantastic presentations, and how do I follow that? I thought about bringing a very noisy gong to make sure you were awake at this time of the afternoon. It's a challenge. But anyway, I am in a little while going to ask you if you will blend yourselves into small groups to spend a little bit of time sharing and talking together about questions that I will prompt you on. But before I do that, I want to just share some through the PowerPoint and get you thinking about this topic. So 2 stories. First of all, I wonder if you've ever heard of Lois's church. It happens to be in Kansas. And that Kansas church was struggling with what they would do about their ministry. Their building, their expenses were going higher and higher. And Lois, as their pastor, took them through a process and through a bit of a struggle, perhaps, but they eventually decided to sell their building and to use those assets to relocate themselves to another location, which is a skilled care facility. As far as we know, there are no other churches, disciples or otherwise, that are founded in a skilled care facility, but that ministry ministers not only to those in the community, but those in that care facility. They are fully present there every day of the week, but their community service projects extend far, far out into not just the community, but the world. They are a wonderful example of a Silver Chalice church. Another story, maybe a little bit less daunting when you start to think about it, is Kimberly's church in Florida. Kimberly's team decided they wanted to develop a new program. They are part of an area where there are many, many people under HUD support who need SNAP services and other kinds of support. They started a Lunch and Learn program. That Lunch and Learn program has expanded to one in which it's not just for their community or their church, but it's for anyone who wishes to come. People can come for lunch who do not have to pay for that lunch unless they feel able and can make a donation. But then they get to hear something about an informative program, services that they can access in their own community, and ways that they might help themselves to be benefited by those services. Not only has this been replicated across the country in many congregations now, but the one in Kimberly's church in Florida is expanding. It's expanding in terms of its numbers and also the way that it can supply that food and increase that. And they are a Silver Chalice church. Well, who is Silver Chalice Ministry for? It's actually for you, and it's for me, and it's for everyone. Did you know that it actually started here in the Missouri, Mid-America region, and that we are far ahead of many other regions in terms of the ministry with older adults that we are working on? It's expanded and grown over the years, and there are 6 designated Silver Chalice congregations in our region. One of those is Frankfurt that Ethan shared with you. Others, are there others here? Great examples that you can learn from. In any case, while we talk about what's happening here in the region, we also need to know that because the resolution of becoming a Silver Chalice designated region was voted upon unanimously just a little over a year ago by our region, it was taken then to General Assembly. This past July, that vote was taken by our entire denomination, and it was nearly unanimous again there. And at that point, we not only became the disciples of Christ Silver Chalice Ministry congregation and designation in terms of denominations, but we created a movement. And that movement is growing. So what's it about? It's about offering recognition, celebration, and intentionality with older adults, but not just with older adults, with every age and all ages within our congregations. And in covering that aspect, we have to ask some hard questions of our churches. Is there as much intentional care shown for older adults as there is for the youth or the children or for any other age? And how can we address that? What are some ways that that can happen? Well, our printed schedule for today, just as a side note, if you look at it, it says Older Adult Ministries. Well, I really love that. And I thought Kirby might love it too, but I love it for the reason that if we do not know what our numbers are in our congregations in terms of demographic, in terms of age ranges, in terms of all kinds of things, it is hard to know how to prioritize and create the purpose of the ministry that we have. So auditing adult ministries is an important aspect of that. Well, you can follow a process in our denomination, much like Green Chalice or other of the designations, to become a Silver Chalice designated congregation. There are some steps to follow. And I'd like to just share with you, first of all, why? Why is Silver Chalice ministry important? Well, first of all, to make a statement, to make a public statement that we want seen by all to be especially caring and attentive to older adults and to those in their families of any age. I wonder if you know that, speaking of audits and demographics, our denomination has over 65% of our church memberships across the denomination are age 65 and over. That's not just our denomination, it's every mainline denomination that is true for. Speaking for those in that demographic, in that age group, is really highly impactful and important for them. If you think about age ranges, as we do in our society, and we think of developmental stages, and we see that there are, the childhood range, the young adult range, the youth range, the young older adults, and so on, we find that each one tends to have a range of ages about 10 to 15 years, except when you hit older adults. It's 25 to 30 years in that range. Well, that tells us something about the fact that there are developmental phases going on at every age, including older adults. And in that 25 to 30 years, there are great developmental processes occurring, not the least of which, probably the most important of which, is the spiritual journey that one is on. So the next aspect that I want to talk with you about is the spiritual journey in terms of how important it is at any age. But if we stop for a moment to look at this slide of the word cloud, this is an example of a very large poll that was done nationally of just regular people on the street who were asked this question: what are the first word that comes to mind to you when you think of a person who is old? And if you look at the largest words with the largest lettering, those were the ones repeated most often. And yet these were all repeated at some significant level with thousands of people that were asked this question. And what strikes me, maybe strikes you about it, is it's vastly negative, awful. Well, where should Silver Chalice Ministries be? Anywhere. Anywhere you are, or everywhere that you see this kind of bias, you hear this kind of bias, you discover the injustices or the invisibility or the loneliness that older adults might feel. So in order to start in Silver Chalice Ministry, there are 4 simple steps that you might take. First of all, listen. Listen to everyone in your congregation, not just those who are older, but young adults, middle-aged people. Listen and hear well what it is they're talking about, what they're looking for. And then hear that, taking notes, and then find ways collectively to react to that and to plan within that, to think of what can be done, what's been repeated, what's bubbled to the surface, and maybe most importantly, what is the Spirit saying? Then there are a few more steps, and they're delineated in the resources that I brought, that I left on the table in the back. The first step is something you probably are already doing in your church, which is to form a team, a small group, or even your whole church could work together. And we invite them to agree on a 1-year-long process. It could take longer, but it could take less time as well, because there is a signed covenant that is requested at the beginning of that process, which we have online and in copies for you. Then committing to some program enhancements, we call them, ways of things that you're already doing that could be done better. For instance, maybe you're already using large print bulletins, or maybe you're projecting on large screens your worship bulletin and other facts on the wall. But have you thought about the quality of your sound system? Does it need to be updated to ensure that people who now have digital hearing aids are able to relate and to hear to what you are saying or what the choir is singing and so on? Have you thought about large print Bibles? There's a church I know of in Kentucky that has found it a challenge to locate such a thing. Zondervan has them. They give them as gifts when there are milestone birthdays, not just for older adults, but for anyone who would like a large print Bible. But what about those who they're doing their lectionary service and reading as liturgists in the worship? Is there a large print Bible for them? And so on. The next is that we ask for one new program. Not too difficult, really, we think, to come up with a new idea, something that could be an outreach in your own community. So these are the first key 4 steps. They're defined very specifically in detail in this booklet, which I brought a few that you can take, which covers every aspect that you could possibly think of to walk yourselves and your church through the process of becoming a Silver Chalice designated ministry. Even the worksheets are here and the ways that you can keep track of your own audit. If you would not like to read such a long volume, you can have a 1-page how you might become a Silver Chalice ministry and some ideas on the back, a whole list of ways to start new programs or to enhance programs that you already have. And the other is also two-sided. This is from last year's Rural Ministries Network meeting, gathering right here in this room, where we collected over 50 ideas of ways for intergenerational ministry. Because Older Adult Ministries and Silver Chalice Ministry is intergenerational. It's about all ages being cared for in the congregation and in the community. So this is where I gave you a little warning. I'd like for you to spend a bit of time if you're feeling like you might move from one table to the next, where there's a group of 3, 4 of you. So I'd like to just ask you if you'll spend maybe 5, 7 minutes, and I'll watch. And thank you for your dynamic conversation. I would like to take some notes about what you might have said, and if someone in your group might be willing to just share a little summary, or several of you could as well. We're sharing some ideas and thoughts, and those that are on the screen right now are parts of the two projects I told you about, the two churches I've told you about. So rather than just pointing to a table group, if you're willing to volunteer, I'd love to hear what you have to say. And all of us would, so if you speak loudly. Somebody's pointing over there. Oh, you have a microphone. Thank you. Oh, what were you? Yes.
Y'all are funny.
Thank you.
We were discussing the demographic in the church here, and a large portion of it, like you indicated, is like 50 and older per se. There's a little bit of a gap. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm 46. And then we are starting to get like a younger crowd. Some of the things the church already does is we have a visiting group for the nursing home. We have done home communion, which was something that was mentioned. But there was a kind of like a food ministry that was suggested and indicated that an evening type or late afternoon meal that that are invited to come to works out for them, because something about like a timing of they can't make the early morning sermon, but are drawn into this particular environment just because of the timing, and probably I would think because of the informality of it, because it's just an easy come as you are. Most time a dinner or a food situation like that is like serve yourself or your like a buffet style. So there was some discussions about that. And as far as what it could do for our church, it's something that we should probably explore more.
Well, thank you very much for that. Others? Ethan.
Great ideas. So we are a Silver Chalice church, and one of our new programs is our Good News Crew, which we adopted one of our local nursing homes, and we go there the first Saturday of the month, and we hold a worship service with the residents. Jan provided us with a link that we were able to play through a Bluetooth speaker, the hymns, and so we all sing along. We don't have to worry about hauling a keyboard or anything like that to the nursing home. We just take a little Bluetooth speaker. And I will share briefly the story of Elizabeth. Elizabeth was 99 years old, and when she transferred her faith to the disciples of Christ, because she had not received communion in over 5 years. And so she felt like her church had forgotten about her, and then when we started bringing her communion, she transferred her membership. She was going to turn 100 years old actually this month, and sadly for us, but happy for her, she passed away a week before her 100th birthday. And so we will miss her, but it was a great reminder to us that nursing home ministry is crucial, and that those people who live there rely on us to be a link. And then one more idea for intergenerational is our after-school Bible school kids wrapped in like the red shiny paper of the old Valentine's Day boxes, and we adopted each resident and gave them a Valentine's Day box of goodies of fuzzy socks, playing cards, chapstick, fingernail polish, little toy cars, so that when their grandkids come, hopefully they could have something to play with while mom and dad are visiting with grandma and grandpa. So it was little things like that, and the residents really seem to appreciate that.
Thanks, Ethan. Those are awesome. One other? How about the group up here in the front corner? Would you be willing?
We had several things. Randy talked about the concrete that they put around their church so that it was more easily accessible for wheelchairs. And pinging on the nursing home ministry, of course, I have a heart for the nursing homes and have been doing that for many years. And it is crucial because it's not just the residents, but you become family to the residents, but it's also their families. And they start counting on you to be there every Sunday to look in on them, and they'll share information so you can get in touch with them and vice versa. But we also, every Sunday when I go to visit, I take the leftover bulletins. So I ask everybody, if you're not, keep the prayer list because it's an insert, but leave your bulletins so I can take them. And I'll have a children's bulletin too with with crossword puzzle and, you know, word search like the residents like. So that's important to do. But
Mhm.
there are a lot of ways to get
Yes.
through. And we do a carnival this year. We did for the other nursing home for the residents, and we had cotton candy and bingo and all kinds of booths set up outside for the residents to come, and it was good for them. We also do the Christmas caroling, which is easy for churches to do, to go carol up and down the hallways with permission. Be careful taking candy, though. I got in trouble one time over the people with diabetes, so be cautious. And we do communion. And if somebody doesn't take this from me, I better, or I'll just keep going. We also do, I do a worship service once a month, and then our honorary minister of outreach does one. So we do 2 of the services each Sunday with communion. Who's next?
Wow, amazing. I think we're going to end with
that it?
that. Thank you, Jennifer. All of your ideas bring to mind that there is a plethora of ideas, resources, and opportunities for you on the website. So if you look at our Mid-America Region's website, you'll find much is there, but it's also linked to this website, which is the National Benevolent Association's website, where there is more. And so there is not exact duplication, but there is more from one to the other. The webinars that we've presented are all recorded and so on. So these are the ways that you contact us and that you can find our information. We are present on Facebook. We are available in websites and in other ways, as well as consulting with you and having conversations with you. So I appreciate the privilege, but I really would look forward to hearing from you, that finding that we have more churches in our region that are interested in Silver Chalice. And if you have questions or thoughts about it, feel free to contact me or through the contact that's on the screen there. Look for the materials on the back table, and I'm happy to chat with you longer if you'd like. So thank you.